Everyone to our December meeting for the Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District Board of Directors. This is our 1,388th board meeting, regular meeting. It is our 9th virtual regular board meeting, so I've been keeping track. And the first item on our agenda that we're going to do is the swearing in of our newly elected board of directors. So Director Carhart is going to administer the oath.
It's my pleasure to do that. If the three of you, Darren Mounts and Delinda Tamani and John O'Farrell, will raise their right hands and repeat the phrases after me and insert your own name. I,
Darren Mounts,
Delinda
do
Tamani,
solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
I will support and defend
that I will support
and defend
Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I
I
will
will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation of purpose or evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and
faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. You are all in for another 4 years of service.
Yay.
Excellent.
4 more.
4 more
Thank
years.
you. All right, so now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So next we will do the roll call.
Director Carhart,
Here,
Director Irwin,
Here.
Director O'Farrell,
Here.
Director Mounts,
Here.
Director Tamani,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. Tonight for our presentations, proclamations, and recognition, I believe Mike is going to do a presentation of an appreciation plaque to the outgoing board chair. Me.
You're muted. Thank you for reminding me. Before I do the plaque, I would like to say a few words for Madam Chair. And Delinda has been the chair this entire year. And on our third meeting, we canceled the March meeting. I looked through some records and could not find a meeting that was canceled due to any other reason but lack of agenda items. And so it was a unique situation to cancel a meeting. She probably holds that honor now. So congratulations on that. She led us through the switch to the virtual meeting for the most part and has done a marvelous job in doing that. She was able to actually take public comments during some very challenging times that we had when we were working on the art, the mural. And she took public comment during this virtual. And again, it seemed very seamless and very effective for the public to have their voice heard. She's very mindful of people. And that's an attribute that is so valuable. She listens and then recognizes people's position and their passion. and she encourages those folks to come forward with their position and passion, and then have the ability to listen. It's been an honor this year to have served with her as the board chair. As the staff person, I've enjoyed getting to know Delinda in that manner. And with that, I want to present the plaque, and I'll show it here. It's clear, so it's gonna be kind of hard to see. It says, "With sincere appreciation, Delinda Tamani, Board Chair 2020, Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District. Thank you for your service." Thank you.
Here, here.
Thank
And-
you, Mike. Thank you for your kind words. If I might, I just want to say something very briefly, and I will keep this very quick because I like to keep things moving. But I have to say I've been very lucky to serve on the board under some very wonderful chairs. When I first started, Jeff Simcoe was the chair, and then it became Rand Jacobs, and then most recently, Director Carhart. So I've had really wonderful examples of who to follow and what to do. And while I didn't anticipate my year as being a year that we would do everything virtually, overall, I'm really pleased with how things went, and I hope all of you are too. When I started the year, I had two goals. I had one that was really more substantive and another that was more procedural. My substantive goal was really to make sure that the money spent on the board projects was done, or bond projects was done with transparency and with public input and oversight. And I've been really happy with how both staff and we as directors have really approached the planning and the expenditures. It's really acknowledged that we have to act with great care and consideration with these projects. And I appreciate the diligence of the Bond Oversight Committee and ensuring that each and every dollar is appropriately spent. And then my second goal was really just to have efficient meetings that were both professional in nature, but also friendly in tone. My hope is that everyone has found our board meetings to be accessible and also to be a place where you are comfortable to raise ideas or offer criticisms, because I really do feel that we there's always room to improve. There's always ways to be better. So please know that I'm always listening. I'm always taking notes. I always got my paper here, my pencil, and I'm always watching the clock. So thank you. Thank you for your kind words, Mike. I appreciate it. And I very much enjoyed serving as the chair in 2020. So thanks.
You did a great job, Delinda, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. So our next item is we're going to move to audience or public comment on any non-agenda item. So if you have an item that you would like to raise, please click on the chat box and let us know. I don't see any down here right now. Ian, do you see any? Or has anyone reached out to you?
No, not that I have.
Okay. All right, so then we'll move to the next item, which is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. There are none, so we'll move to the next item, which is our consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? And are there any questions or comments on the consent calendar this month? All right, all in favor of approving the consent calendar?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So our first agenda item, 9.1, is the monthly Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board report. And I see here that Rachel Lee has joined us. Thank you, Rachel.
Hello, it's Rachel Lee, the chair of the Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving break. Before I get started today, I thought it would be advantageous to tell the board and the people watching tonight how FOIAB looks specifically this year in a more general sense. So we are a group of 15 this year, 15 people, which consist of 9 high school commissioners, 4 high school officers, which include myself, the vice chair, the secretary, and the programming officer. And we have our 2 advisors as well. And we are seeking to advocate a voice and contribute into the Fair Oaks community. And just a heads up that every year officers will have been re-elected each FOIAB term. So it will periodically change for every FOIAB term. So this year has been especially hard for FOIAB, given that we don't have specific service groups to serve in FOIAB events, and our group has been cut down a lot in size. However, we are thankful that we have been given the opportunity to participate in an actual in-person event and these ongoing accommodations. So given that, we want to further thank the community and everyone who has made a generous donation and contribution to FOIAB. As we had our solicit donations sent out and still getting sent out, we are receiving donations and we are very thankful and appreciate it very much. So this winter, we had originally thought of a canned food drive, but we have shifted that to the Toys for Tots, and we have collected those. And then for New Year's, we are also excited to have had made these New Year's in a box, which were packaged to celebrate on the New Year's. And registrations have already closed, but we'll be able to pick up on December 21st. And that's about it. Next board meeting, I'll have my vice chair join me and we will be discussing a recycling project in mind. But as of today, that is the update on FOIAB. Any questions?
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Sounds great, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move to our next item, which is a receive and file. It's an update on an AMS project. I believe Mike is going to talk. You're on mute.
Mute.
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, which is a little different this time, so I missed my mute. We do have a presentation here to do. We are waiting for Jonathan from AMS. We told him 6:15 because things were, we figured that'd be about the right time for the agenda. I am going to actually, oh, it looks like he's just arrived, so I'm going to let him take it from here, but just giving you a quick update. We are, the presentation is about the Arts and Entertainment Strategic Plan, and AMS was hired to give us that strategic plan, and we're going to present today, or Jonathan from AMS is going to present today to do this. I am going to actually pitch this over to Sabrina, who will introduce Jonathan officially. So Sabrina, if you will.
Hello, board members. How are you guys tonight?
All good.
Great. Awesome. Okay, for anybody that's watching that doesn't know, I'm Sabrina Bernardo. I'm a recreation supervisor here at Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District. I'm here tonight to introduce to you Jonathan Sprengler from AMS Planning and Research. As you may be aware, AMS has been contracted with the Park District to develop a strategic plan for the arts and entertainment program. Tonight, Jonathan is going to present the 5 guiding principles for the future operations of the art and entertainment program. He's also going to give an overview of 3 potential operating models that we will move forward with as we continue along in the development of this strategic plan. I think as Mike had mentioned, this is a receive and file, so no action is needed. However, if you guys have comments or suggestions, we would like you to share those. And we'll be back to you all at a later date for the board to approve the actual operating model that the district will move forward with. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jonathan. And Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. And if I don't see you guys or anything like that, have happy holidays.
Sabrina.
Thanks, Sabrina.
All right, so as Sabrina said, my name's Jonathan. I'm with AMS Planning Research. I recognize most of you. We met previously a little while back. So great to see you all again. I hope COVID has spared all of you and your family and friends. And as we go into the holiday season, I just keeping everyone in our thoughts. So that said, we've been hard at work trying to think of all the ways we can help align your goals with the community's needs and aspirations and wants. With that said, we needed to establish a basis of understanding so that the board and the community are kind of in alignment with what are the guiding principles, the values that we will not deviate from as we undertake this planning. That way we can avoid things like, mission creep or mission scope. So we don't start doing things that just don't benefit the community and are wasteful of resources. But also give us direction in what we do want to do. We've heard lots from you all as well as your community members about what they want to see that's new and some things they would like some changes to. That said, these are the guiding principles we've worked with the committee to come up with. The first one is that we are committed to celebrating our community. I think it's important that we state these things, that you're committed to celebrating your community, and that the district plans for a vibrant future and embraces what makes Fair Oaks unique. The second one, and by the way, if anyone has this, if they want me to pause and say a comment, please feel free, but we'll just go through these. The second one, active, central, and collaborative. The whole premise from a lot of the stakeholders that we've done in interviews as well as the board is that there needs to be more activity. So this has to be a guiding principle. The village is an active centerpiece of the district, driving social engagement and economic impact for Fair Oaks and neighboring communities. Again, very important that we bolded some of these words. We're thinking about the village, the downtown area, as kind of your main street hub. That is going to be the centerpiece. That doesn't mean you don't need to activate other spaces, your parks, but that is the centerpiece. That's what the committee. The third one, diverse programming that attracts and engages the entire community. You right now, we heard a lot about some age groups that are a little bit underserved in your community, especially in the teenage years. So we're addressing that and looking at, okay, we want to make sure that we fill out. We've heard plenty about young singles as well, that there's not a lot of activity programmed for that market. So we're looking at models in comparable cities that do things that engage that age demographic. The fourth one, inclusive to all. In this day and age, being blind to social inequity is no longer really being tolerated by constituents, and it's not being tolerated by performing artists, anyone in the cultural sector. So it is important that you acknowledge that your goals are to strive to sustain your facilities and programs, making them welcoming, affordable, and inclusive. Okay. And then the last one, we felt strongly, we initially had this as part of one of the other ones, but we broke it out and isolated it because it is important that you are proactive, that the district regularly ensures that your facilities and programs remain relevant to your community, times change, by testing and adjusting programs continuously. If something's not working, you should not accept the status quo. If it only works for a handful of people, that doesn't mean don't do it, but don't put all your eggs in that one basket either. So we think it's very important that you actually specifically call that out. And these are what we have come up with in collaboration with your committee as the guiding principles that will now steer the direction. So we have some barometers and some guardrails of what can we program, do we want to program, and what are things that will rub so much against these guiding principles we don't want to do them. So I can pause here for a second, and if anyone wants to react or share thoughts.
I wanted to say a few things about, oh, may I? Linda?
Sure.
Yeah, on committing to celebrating our community, you know, that brings to mind to me the uniqueness here is that we're active in as community partners with us, and we have things that other communities probably don't have. We have a core village that's really important. We have all the community partners that put on a lot of activities. We have unlike a lot of the communities, we have a history society and a lot of people that go back many years in the community, and we do have a history. And we have a uniqueness. We were a separate community long before we became a suburb. And, you know, in the second category, it's very clear that the village is our centerpiece. That's where we're focusing a lot of our reinvestment in the community, because with a strong village, we have a strong community. And you just have to look to our neighboring communities that are striving to form a core area. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I'd say it's great so far, Jonathan. I mean, I know we spent a lot of time at one of our board meetings, all of us kind of talking about that. And I think you're really addressing a lot of those key things that the directors brought up, mentioned, and also I think generally with a lot of the stakeholders that you've been talking to too. So bravo, and let's, keep it going.
I agree with what both directors have said, and I also like the focus on the underserved or unserved, some of the teenage years, the young singles, and I'm sure that there are probably others as well. So the more people that we can reach out to, the better. The more the more inclusive we can be. I'm all over that.
Definitely.
Okay, we will continue to work with the committee, obviously, and if anyone does have anything, sometimes you take away from this, you read it a little bit more, and I believe Sabrina and Mike may have given you these, but if they haven't, we'll make sure you all have a copy of them. And if there is something, if there's a word that you think could be better worded, please feel free to reach out directly to us or through Mike, and we can discuss that. We want it to be something that you all own. It's not AMS. We do this in collaboration so that you have ownership of it. You have to live with it too. So.
Well, I think your principles are right on, and addressing the last three, it's always been a challenge to identify who we're not serving. Mm-hmm. We only have so many vehicles to get the word out to people. And I have a sense that not enough people in the community are taking advantage of opportunities. And we have to find out who they are, what they want, and communicate with them. And that's always been a real challenge, creating programs, events, activities that draw people in. We want to be popular. And especially since the village is going to have an arts focus, I think there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of art activities, craft activities that we have to find them and engage them.
Sure. With that said, the next part of our work centers around coming up with the operating model per se, or how we're going to structure this. And so just to give you a quick framework, we really deal with three common frameworks for the arts and culture sector, whether it's a museum, a garden, a symphony, or a theater, or a district. This is kind of how we build them. We have what we consider landlords, where it's a very passive interaction, transactional approach to, here's the facility, we're going to let you rent it. There's not a lot of proactivity in that. The second one is a little bit more active and engaging, and that's a host model. This is where you see a lot of municipalities that have a performing arts center, and then they'll have 3 or 4 resident companies that are the regular users of that space. Walnut Creek, the Lesher Center for the Arts, has some, that's what that would be, the California Symphony and their theater group. You can have very established tenant relationship, memorandum of understanding. It can be as legal as you want, or it can be as flexible and loose as you want. There are obviously inherent risks with both. And then the top of this is the presenter. And that is where you control everything, including the risk. As you'll see on the left, you take on all of the risk, and you get all the control of the content. So if you're very focused on, we know what we want to program and we want to take the risk, that's where you find the presenter model. And that's where you're going out as the district, and you are maybe hiring some staff or staff that you think have the talent to do this, they're going out and procuring the content and then doing the negotiations, setting up the calendar, and all of that is done in-house. There are plenty of examples where all three are done. It's just you want to be clear, and we want to make sure that we're clear with you which one of these you're going to prioritize, right? Because if you want to do all three, that's fine, but you have to prioritize one of them so that it doesn't get into major conflicts. And that's where usually it does happen is you're a presenter, but you have a resident company that wants the best dates. But unfortunately, when it comes down to, well, but this presenting act wants to give us a lot more money than you are, that's why you want to have that clarity of what is your priority. Go ahead, Darren.
Are you supposed to be looking at your screen? Because you referenced on your left.
Oh, sorry. Let me throw this up. Can you see this now?
Yeah. Thank you, Darren.
That helps.
Those graphics.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, I have a question. I mean, how common is it to kind of do a combination? So
It's incredibly common.
okay.
Most organizations do all three of these. We're investigating several model districts and cities for you, and most of them do all three of these in some form or fashion. No one wants to have a completely dark facility, so they will rent it out as often as they can on the days that they don't already have things going on. So most are always being a landlord at some level. It's really the presenter or host that we're focusing on. Which one are we leaning towards? That said, we built some scenarios based off of these. If I can get my PowerPoint notes, there we go. The first scenario is of course the landlord. And for you, this is where it'd be hands off, right? You hire someone else or let someone else, you say, we're abstaining. This is you as a third party independent manager are going to take care of activating this space. You're going to take all of the risks and you're going to have all the control. However, of course, you as the district can fire them, right? You set it up and say, okay, you're going to activate the space. And if it's not active in 5 years, we may terminate the relationship. But in those 5 years or whatever contract you come up with, it can be a lot more difficult to really make sure, because again, you remove yourself from the day-to-day operations. Programming goals and funding support are usually up to that third party, whether it's a not-for-profit or an LLC that comes in to manage. Or a venue management company. But they will still likely require some level of funding from the district.
I'm trying to visualize what that relationship is. Years ago, we had a continuing relationship with the Renaissance fairs at Fair Oaks Park, where they came in and did their thing under the oak trees there. And I imagine we've had I think we had country music there more recently, but is that the type of activities you're talking about, or is it more like what we do with the theater festival?
No, this is actually a lot more detached than that. This is where to be honest, this is kind of how you're set up now with the theater festival. They're managing your amphitheater, right? They're kind of the sole activator of the amphitheater. That's kind of a landlord model. It may be loose, it may be really structured. It can be fluid in that mechanism. However, the primary activator is not the district right now.
Jonathan, I mean, wouldn't really though, that would be a tenant model, not a landlord, because I mean, they would be because the theater company is a tenant of ours and then they're overseeing that. Whereas a landlord truly, Ralph, would be like, we hire somebody who is full-time getting gigs, managing that. So they would go, so the theater company would go to that person, not us. Whereas with the Renaissance, they went to us. Does that make sense?
I'm still a little confused, but yeah, it's helpful.
Okay,
Basically,
we used to contract out all our recreation to Leisure Pro, and they handled the whole recreation
that
program.
would be like that. Yep.
that's exactly it. And another example is I'm down in Vacaville. Vacaville Performing Arts Center is actually managed by VenueTech. They're contracted to activate the space, but Vacaville maintains ownership of the space. But the city does absolutely nothing with other than minor funding. They have relinquished all the control of content to a third-party contractor. Similarly, and don't get this confused, the Theater Fest is not the landlord of the amphitheater. The district is the landlord. You own the space, so it's your four-wall agreement that you deal with. So this is what your position would be as the landlord.
Jonathan, and we also have no control once we contract with the theater company to put on whatever they're doing, comedy night or their normal programming. And frankly, that's been a problem for me because there are times when we need to bust out of that groove and do some things that are differently. And I would like to see the district either retaining someone to do that with specific guidelines or having at least more control over what we're doing across the street.
Yeah, John,
when the agreement was made between the district and the theater festival, we did negotiate for how many days we had available, how many comedy nights we had available. And that was, I think, written into the agreement. I don't know if you guys were around back then, but Bob Walters was negotiating for their side, and he was pretty tough with us. I think they got a pretty good deal.
But Ralph, I mean, the point is we had two choices. We either had their productions or we had comedy night. And over time, that model, in my opinion, did not work.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, John, so I sit on on this particular committee, and we've spent a lot of time discussing, different scenarios. And me as a director, and obviously this is a full decision of the entire board, but I would like to see us lean more towards the presenter/host. I think this is a great time to start fresh with a fresh building, and we have a lot of opportunity, and we give up a lot of control and a lot of revenue if we take these landlord type models where we're just sort of hands off. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for us to take that presenter and maybe mix in a little host in there. But yeah, this is one thing we've dove in pretty deeply about, and that's my opinion.
I support that because that's kind of where I was going with this too when I was looking at it, was that this is a perfect time to do and have some documents in writing and things that we can follow. And I think this is a great time to transition more from landlord to maybe I like the idea of a combination of maybe the host and the presenter model.
I get my concern with that is we really have to make sure, that's going to be a full-time position, at least, if not several people being hired to then actively go out and find acts and just oversee that whole thing. So I am nervous that we won't really be able to find someone to work for us who can truly do that.
Yeah, and that's Director, that's something that we talked about quite a bit as well, is running through those different scenarios. My opinion, and I feel like we have some tremendous talent within the district that could definitely step up to that kind of role. And with the potential revenue that we generate and we keep 100% of, basically, we can figure it out. And obviously there's a lot more discussion to be had on the topic, but just in my background and seeing how a lot of these venues work, I feel we can figure it out and we can do it.
Yeah, let me jump in. The next scenario is exactly what Darren was talking about. The second is the presenter model, where the district does everything yourself. And again, these are siloed right now. I'm presenting them to you siloed. They're most commonly fused together in some form or fashion, like Darren said, as a presenter and host. Right now, we're just trying to give you a clear picture of what each is, so you understand that you will, to be successful, you need to know which one you're going to lean on the most. That's all the purpose of this is. And that this presenter doing it yourself, what you gain is that you gain all of the content control. So you get to control what is, which is in one way it's nice because these are your guiding principles. So you get direct guiding principle to content. It's the same as controlling your own brand. If you subsource your branding out to someone really aligns with, and you end up spending a lot of time going back and forth fixing things instead of just it being natural. You also, however, take on all of the risk. So in this year, had you been operating in this model and you had booked some artists, even small artists, if someone accidentally negotiated a bad deal and you had to cancel, you're out money. So you absorb that risk as the district. The third party contracted venue manager does not. But that said, the rewards can be significantly greater, right? And if like Darren said, if you manage it correctly, you'll be activated, you'll meet all your guiding principles.
Yeah.
So isn't that how we operate the Chicken Festival, I think, pretty much, right? We're the presenter of the Chicken Festival. We book the acts and everything.
Yes, correct.
And probably similar with the concerts in the park.
I mean, the analogy to the concerts in the park would be if we hired a band to do 10 different styles of music over the summer, and we'd see no variation. And frankly, that's what we've had in the past at the amphitheater. And we need something to break out of that mold again. And I'm not sure what it is. I'm not a, I'm a risk taker. I've been all my life, but I'm not certainly with, the park district money. So we need to figure out what is the right blend where we can get, we can have something that works for the community and us, and it's not gonna put us in a huge risk position.
Well, John, my question would be this: if we didn't have the theater festival group, and with our own staff we wanted to book things, do we have the capability to do that, or would we need to have? We need to hire somebody on the outside to do that, I would think. I don't think we have either the numbers of people, the hours.
That's what we're saying. We're going to have to hire people. That was my concern, was making sure we hire the right people. And I mean, we're going to have to hire people to be at all of these events as well, right? Like we're going to have to make sure they're going to be the ushers. They're going to be whatever. It's going to be all of our people. And then we're going to have to make sure that we're paying to review all the contracts, right? So legal, that's going to be bigger. I'm not against it, but I just want to make sure that we're really thinking about, and I'm sure Jonathan would help us hopefully with part of your scope would be to really put that all in place. So we would see exactly what we would have to do and set us up for success.
I think it'd be hard to build that kind of team. It would be, in my opinion, it would be easier to contract with the expertise from the outside for that. And gradually transition and, teach our team and bring on people that we could maybe take it over. But initially, I don't know if we could handle that.
I don't think they're gonna, from my knowledge, limited, but if we hire a company to do this at first, I doubt they're going to want to share their secrets and help us to basically get rid of them in a few years. I think it would be something that that wouldn't be the type of relationship.
No, but staff learns and staff gains the ability, and we bring on new people. Yeah, things transition. We contract out a heck of a lot of the stuff we do.
I'll finish off with this third scenario, and that's the host model. And this is kind of a presenter with a do-it-yourself approach with partnerships. This is where you get a little bit more of an intentionality in who you partner with. So the district, you're going to provide the direction, like I wrote there, of the cultural atmosphere, right? You're establishing these guiding principles. That's going to dictate who you will and will not partner with to activate space. That way, the risk is then kind of shared between you and the contractor, because if they don't meet your standards, you give them the boot. You use formal spaces to drive ticketed events with premium ticket prices, and then you use informal. So you get a little bit more intentional in this model about how you use the spaces you have to maximize foot traffic and maximize revenue earning, but also maximizing those concerts that are free by subsidizing. So the funding goals become shared. The third party host or hostee wants to obviously make money and stay in the good graces of the district, but the district is meeting its guiding principles and staying in the good graces of the constituents. What we've seen most common with this is that a third party not-for-profit with a broad mandate of activation and economic development and equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility is brought on to activate. In your case, yes, it would have to be created and animated because that doesn't exist. Now, however, that doesn't mean you don't reevaluate your relationship with, for example, the Theater Fest and say, okay, we are going to now, I'm throwing this out there as a complete idea and nothing more than an idea. It's not a recommendation. If the district had some amount of money and said, okay, Theater Fest or not-for-profit X, Y, or Z, we are going to throw some money at you to activate this space, and here are the parameters. That's this type of model where you get more intentional about, we're going to give you some seed money, but here are the parameters you have to meet. And it can be with a not-for-profit. You could establish an LLC. It could be you set up a advisory committee like you have right now. If that committee wants to stay on and become a permanent fixture, where you then regularly meet and convene to go over and assess what's going on in arts, culture, and activation.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I'm trying to fit what we do into some of these categories. Is that our relationship right now with the chamber, with the concerts in the park? It's kind of that kind of relationship, I think.
Say that again, Ralph.
Is that the model for how we deal with concerts in the park with the chamber? It's kind of a partnership.
That's actually still kind of a landlord model. That's, yeah. You don't have a formal, they're not a formal partner in activating your space, right? You haven't relinquished control to them to activate for the calendar year. You've got kind of a few times a year activation with them. That's more still a landlord rental relationship than it is. This is a permanent installed organization that manages all of your spaces.
Hey, if I may, Ralph, that may be more like the UC Davis with our gardens over at Fair Oaks.
Good example. Okay. That
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, we have a question in the from one of our bond oversight committee members. Gary Jules had asked about a similar survey that AMS, I guess, had conducted regarding the Sophia. And he would like to know, how are they structured, and are we able to contact them and find out pros and cons? And he says that the Sophia is an operating concept. Can you share anything about their project?
I can share a few things. Yeah, so Bill Blake, that is my boss and colleague here at AMS, he was the managing director that led the capital campaign to get the Sophia. So he's extremely familiar with the Sophia. And we, of course, continue to, he came back to AMS, and we continue to use the Sophia with several projects. It is something that we've considered in this particular project, but it doesn't quite fit It does in terms of activation, but the business model itself isn't the closest match for what we're looking at. That said, there are plenty of ideas we take from Sophia. For instance, having one space being activated with theater while the other one is being activated with a nostalgia band or a contemporary jazz trio. So those are absolutely things we're taking into account when you talk about, we don't want to just activate one Fair Oaks space at a night. You have several spaces. Why not activate multiple of them? If you put on a big festival, it doesn't have to be limited necessarily to one space. It could spread multiple spaces. So there's lots of differences that we're considering. But good question. And Gary, you're saying how are they?
Is a big benefactor.
Pardon me?
We're lacking a big benefactor
Yeah.
compared to Sophia.
Papadopoulos is here. A governor, though.
I just learned that Governor Newsom has a residence in Fair Oaks.
Indeed.
He did.
Or did? Okay.
Well, still his. We don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two of the things you mentioned pop into my mind. One, if we want to keep all of these new facilities we have hopping all the time with things that attract a wide diversity of people in the community, not just renting the facilities for private use, but putting on an active program, year round. I mean, that's quite a challenge, and I'm hoping at some point you'll make some recommendations for how our particular operation can transition to that or implement that. The other thing is you mentioned like an advisory committee, and I don't know, John, you've always been an advocate of that. We've always wanted to have some permanent advisory committee for the board. And if we're going to be trying to make maximum use of our space and having a really dynamic recreation program and reaching all the people, it's that interests me that we might want to set up some kind of citizen group to help us with that.
So to your first point, yes, that's the next part of this project, Ralph. In January, we'll be coming back to you all, with the committee for sure, to dive into that, into the types of activities that, based off of the survey that we did, what types of, we call it an activity profile, which activities we want to put in there. Again, that has to, it's a function before form, right? We need to know what the functions are going to be. So for us, it's the guiding principles. So we have some parameters, and then it's, okay, which type of, how do you want to operate it as a district? Do you want to be hands off, or do you want to be hands on, or somewhere in between? That's the next step. This next step is for the committee to really finalize that decision. And then we will put together some operating scenarios based off that type of operating structure that say, okay, presenting, here's all the presenting activity you're going to have to do to meet your guiding principles. Or you want to host, okay, here's all of the hosting activities you're going to have to do. If you want to be a landlord, here's how many rentals you're going to have to do, and here's how much revenue. So it becomes very much a nerdy volume mix, volume price driven financial modeling scenario.
My thought is rather than us dictate what method to go about doing it, I'd rather see the opposite. Just give the goal. We want the most dynamic program. And so how do we achieve that going from where we are now? That's the approach I want to take, because I don't want to say we want to be the landlord type or we want to be the host type or anything else. That's presuming that we know how to handle that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Ralph. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know a lot. And, definitely you guys that we're hiring really understand this. So I definitely am in agreement with Ralph about wanting to really hear what you all think would be the best for the goals that we want, and then help us make that happen.
Sure. Yep. You will definitely, next time you hear from us, that's what you're going to get. But at the end of the day, the decision is going to be yours, right? And like Darren said, there's a lot of talent in your district, but what you don't want to do is squander the talent by making a wrong decision and relinquishing control to a different operating model that's not going to bolster it as much. And that's why we put this in front. That said, we have to introduce you to them to kind of get a barometer for where you absolutely no, we don't want to do that. And then we can start to plug in what the balance of each of these really is. That's what we're.
I suspect it's going to be a hybrid of those different approaches.
Absolutely.
Depending on what we're doing, we'll use one approach in one situation and different one in a different one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then your second point about an advisory committee, overwhelmingly that tends to be a very common theme in municipal or tax-based authority structures when they do anything involving arts and cultural programming, especially if they're dealing with equity, diversity, and inclusion goals. Because you all have limited, as the directors, you have limited time, and even the district staff you have now have limited time to really go out and get on the pavement and find out what is and is not working with respect to equity, diversity, and inclusion in the form of entertainment or culture or all that. That's, again, going to be really important. So I would say bravo for talking about having an advisory committee, but that's a decision for you all.
Well, the one thing it does is it gives us a lot more eyes on the arts and entertainment community that we may not have. And if you've got a committee, they may be able to suggest or draw in things that would be exciting and new. Not that the board doesn't have ideas or the staff doesn't have ideas, but
I mean, Sacramento Metropolitan Arts Commission, they lost their founding patriarch, if that's the proper way to describe her. And that was, I think, 1997 when SMAC was created. So they've been around for a long time. And when I was still at the county, in the county exec's office, we sent money their way every year. And they coalesced a variety of different arts groups and genres, and they represented everybody. We're not going to do that, but I mean, just some local people that will help us, that have not only a passion for the arts, whatever those arts are, but have some experience, and maybe some that don't, but just to give us their ideas.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, does anyone else have a burning question or thoughts?
Jonathan, we did have somebody ask how the Sophia is structured. So which of those 3 tiers does the Sophia use?
That's an interesting question. They would lean more towards, in one aspect, they're doing a mix of hosting and presenting, because they're hosting the B Street Theater. That's the pinnacle organization. And then they also present in their larger proscenium house. They present musical acts. So they're definitely doing both of those things. And I haven't tried to rent, but I'm fairly certain if you wanted to rent the Sophia for a wedding event or something, you could also do that.
Great.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you all. I hope if anyone has any questions at any time, please feel free. We want you all to succeed in this. I like Fair Oaks, so I would like to come up there and visit Roosters and concerts. So We're really-
How soon can we book McCartney and Swift?
That will fix Copolis.
Get us out of COVID and I'll find out. All right. You all have a wonderful holiday season and we'll see you all in the new year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, so we'll move to our next item 9.3, which is discussion and possible action regarding the approval of the 2021 purchasing policy update. And I believe Katie is going to talk.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Good evening, Board of Directors and Community of Fair Oaks. My name is Katie Costa. I'm the Recreation Superintendent for the district. And we recently proposed a updated, since 1988 to be exact, purchasing policy for the district. And we did work that through the Policy Review Committee on December 8th of 2020. And so we are coming to the board to ask for the approval of this updated purchasing policy. For reference, you can see attachment A is the policy itself. Attachment B is the 1988 purchasing policy, which is a very quick read. And attachment C is a CalCard standard operational process, otherwise known as a SOP, which are just features of the original draft policy we pulled out of it and made into a SOP. And so the policy itself that was updated is obviously in an effort to obtain the best value in goods and services and have standards for our staff in terms of bidding processes, referencing titles and where you sit in that purchasing hierarchy, and also the process for purchasing goods and the departments and everything within that policy. So I believe all of the board has reviewed the policy and it's open for discussion prior to approval. Any questions on the policy?
I guess the only comment I would have, I'm assuming it's consistent with the authorities and the levels, among smaller local government agencies.
Yes, it is following all of the standard practices for state requirements for purchasing and other agencies, just like us, of other public agencies.
You mentioned, Katie, the models you used in developing this that you did to our committee.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't have it right in front of me, but yes, it's the standard purchasing models through the state.
Mm-hmm. So most of
it's literally the state of California purchasing standards.
Most of our questions when we were reviewing this as a committee were on the threshold levels for the various delegations of authority, and I think we worked that out pretty good. I think you worked that out good.
Good.
Yep.
Raymond James, do you have any thoughts on that? Raymond James and I were the committee on looking at these policies.
Nope, I think it looks good now. As Ralph said, we had some great conversation on the threshold and really made sure it was a good, accurate threshold for our district, the size of our district, and the amount of our budget.
And the committee also had some great points about emergency purchases, and we made those edits as well.
Yeah, and a few comments about CalCard issues, which are addressed. So,
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve the new and improved policy that is now, 32 years old? Math right, or almost 33?
I'll second.
All right, any other comments or questions?
We'll review it again in another 32 years.
You and I won't, but maybe Raymond.
We'll review it at Carhart Park.
Right.
Yeah.
Memorial
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Not exciting work, but very important. So
Very important.
yes, thank you. So our next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding the approval of the 2021 personnel policy manual updates and the telecommuting policy. So Jennifer, are you gonna present on this one?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
So I'm Jennifer Larkin. I'm the Administrative Services Manager here for the district. And this item, both of these updates reside within the Personnel Policy Manual. The first one is pretty minor. Back in 2018, when we did our large revision of the policy manual, we changed how staff could accrue vacation time to give them a little more flexibility as to when they could use their vacation time. We were finding that a lot of our staff were losing time. We tried something different, which was to allow them to accrue more than their max of 240 hours, but then they had to use whatever was above that by December 31st. That didn't really help people use their leave more. It just made it a little more difficult at the end of the year when they had to make a plan for how they were going to use their time, and then it was all crunched into 1 month of January. So we just are looking at taking it back to the original cap of 240 hours. That will not, so people that currently do have more than 240 hours are not going to lose their time. They'll still have time to spend it within the parameters of the old policy. So they could still make a plan to use it by the end of January, which is what the old policy states. And then going forward, if they accrue more than 240 hours, they'll just stop accruing for that period of time until they get below the threshold. So that item was a relatively minor change that was reviewed by the Policy Review Committee and approved by them. And then the second one is the telecommuting policy. Now that we currently do have a policy in the manual, it's 2 sentences long, and it basically just says that the administrator can determine whether or not work can be done via telecommuting. So that's what we've been using for the last 9 months as our policy. But Mike really wanted to have something a little more comprehensive, as it looks like we're going to continue to do telecommuting probably on a pretty regular, even after COVID. We'll still be using it as one of the options for staff, as a way to save some space, as a way to be a little more efficient, as a way to give staff a little more flexibility. And so we put together this rather lengthy telecommuting policy, which again was reviewed with the Policy Review Committee, and it does contain their comments. I'll scroll through here to get to the end of it. So a couple of the things that came up when we were having our discussion, Director Carhart wanted us to include some language on emergency situations. So this policy is really for normal times, and it's non-mandatory for staff to work at home. However, we did add some language that would allow the district administrator to mandate that staff work from home when possible. If
Just to address the situation that we were enlightened on with this current crisis, nothing like crisis to drive new policies.
It's true. We've learned a lot about different ways of doing business and becoming more efficient. And then the second area that was discussed at length was doing meetings in people's homes. So initially, we had decided that we would not allow staff to do business meetings in their homes. We changed that a little bit to be a little more flexible. And now with administrator approval and with, making it more of a rarity than a regular occurrence, we will allow staff to conduct business meetings in their homes, as long as it's on their calendars and it's had previous approval. And everything else, we wanted to include a check. We allow for necessary and with reasonable notice. I reviewed this with Capri, our risk management company, to get their feedback on it, and they were in agreement with everything that's in here. And I think that was it.
So Jennifer, just for clarification, these are in-person meetings, or these Zoom meetings, or both?
In person.
Okay, all right.
Were there any other questions or items of concern that we need to look at?
I'm not suggesting this, but do we have the policies like this looked at by our attorney, or is that he's read this?
He has not looked at this. I will send it to him after you approve it.
It's the only question I have.
Read the whole thing in detail, but yeah, that's good.
Person meetings and the liability of the district in case something were to happen in somebody's home.
Yeah, I did talk to Capri about that. They didn't say no. They didn't say, they said that our policy would cover as if it were any kind of an offsite meeting. But they didn't sound happy about it.
Well, I think Ralph's right. I mean, we ought to have Dick Shanahan to weigh in on it.
Okay, sounds good.
Maybe just calling it an off-site meeting, you know, is helpful too.
That might work.
Necessarily addressing that it's a home. If it's an approved off-site meeting by the administrator, that should be good enough. Huh?
Right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 Personnel Policy Manual updates and telecommuting policy.
I'll second.
Any other questions or comments?
Nice job, Jennifer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for that. We'll move to our next item, just discussion and possible action regarding the approval of a contract with Interwest for the right-of-way work for the Village Plaza Park project. I believe this is Mike.
Yes, thank you. And what this is this is an $11,900 contract with Interwest Consulting Group. The funds are coming from Measure J. This is a Measure J project, and it is to do all of the work necessary to have the right-of-way abandoned that's in front of the clubhouse. And if you've ever walked through that parking lot, you'll notice the road markings that were part of a road, a prior road. That right-of-way has not been abandoned. And for us to do the development, the county has requested that we go through the formal process to get that right-of-way conveyed to the district. And that's what this contract is for. And I can answer any questions.
Does that cover any engineering or map work that's needed to satisfy the county?
Yes, it does everything to get the right-of-way abandoned and then conveyed to us officially. Yeah, and we still will need to do, the surveying and things like that, which we still have with that triangle in front. We have a ruling with the county right now that they will recognize the triangle in front of that right-of-way, on the other side of that right-of-way, as our property. So once that is all done, the right-of-way is conveyed, then we will do the final surveying necessary to consolidate all those properties.
Is that a quick claim, or is it have to go to the Board of Supervisors?
It has to go to the Board of Supervisors based on the fact that it's an abandoned right-of-way. Yeah.
If you look at the original configuration of streets in that area, I don't know how it's well worth the money to have somebody try to sort it out, because
yes,
one of those streets are where they used to be. They've
and
over the years.
And as Director Irwin can attest, we have been working on this for almost a year.
Did ICS select Interwest, or did you put out a solicitation of bids, or how did you come to pick Interwest?
Yeah, this is actually done with ICS and CALA. This group, the Interwest, has extensive experience working with the county on abandoned right-of-ways and abandoning right-of-ways. So the speed which they're able to do that is going to be unmatched by anybody.
I can also see in the Q&A box, Gary Jules has a question, and it is, where does the right-of-way start and where does it end?
Oh, good question. Not sure. That's why part of this has to be done.
Well, the parking lot right now used to be the road. The road
yes.
Was in a triangle, and actually there were a couple triangles there. I think Hugh Gorman's house was in another triangle at one time. But it's basically the parking lot. I can even remember when the street went through the parking lot with a triangle. That wasn't all that long ago.
Yeah. So
maybe I'll make a motion to authorize the district administrator to sign consultant service contract with for the amount of $1,900 with Interwest Consulting Group.
I'll second.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Great. Get that right of way done. Okay, so next we are going to move to discussion and possible action regarding selection of board chair and vice chair for 2021. And this is Jennifer.
Yes. So there's no formal staff recommendation for this item. I've provided you with a little chart that shows the chair and vice chair for the past 5 years. If you go in your normal historical precedent, you would have Director O'Farrell would be chair, and then Director Irwin would then be vice chair for next year. But you don't have to follow that precedent. It's all up to you.
It's all up to John,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as long as it's not me.
Happy to serve as chair and be my last chair for sure. So if the board is willing to accept me, I'm willing to serve. And love to have as my running mate is Director Irwin. And so, yeah, let's move forward.
How do you feel, Raymond James? Ready for it?
I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful. Does it need a motion?
It does. Yeah.
If so, I move that the 2021 chairman be designated as John O'Farrell, and the 2021 vice chair would be Raymond James Irwin.
I'll second that.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Yay. All right.
Congrats.
So our next item is going to be, let's see, discussion and possible action regarding our annual board of directors meeting dates and also the committee assignments for 2021.
Yep. So I've attached for you the calendar, which is attachment B, and there's nothing oddball this year. So all of the dates are on the third Wednesday of the month, and unless you all have a change that you'd like to make for any of those. And then the committee assignments, I attached for you the current committee assignments, and your discussion is yours to have on that one.
I personally really enjoy serving on the committees that I'm serving on right now and would love to continue serving on them. Of course, happy for whatever either current chair or incoming chair would prefer.
I as well am quite content. I'm happy to stay where I am, but if somebody wants to, snag one of my spots, I'm happy to give it up.
Yeah, I'm fine with where I'm at as well.
Well, I'm flexible. I'll take any of them. And if anybody wants, let's see, it looks like I was chair of management and personnel, and also the second on policy review. So if anybody is desperate for either one of those, they're welcome to swap with me. I'll take anything.
I'm content too. So it sounds like we will keep the committee assignments for 2021. And then we can have another discussion next December. Decide if we want to maybe move. And if I think in the future, if we do want to move around, it'd be ideal to have maybe only one committee member switch. And that way the remaining committee member is already up to speed, and then maybe that person could become the chair or something like that. So
That has been the tradition, although traditions are out the window in politics these years.
So
Raymond James, were you about to make a motion to?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the Board of Directors meeting calendar and committee assignments.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. All right, so our last agenda item for tonight is discussion and possible action on approval of the revised salary schedule to reflect the minimum wage increase as of January 1st, 2021.
Yes, this is the almost final year. This is the 4th year of minimum wage increases. Next year will be the last where it goes up to $15. We always take this increase into account when we prepare the budget. So there's no fiscal impact to the district. We just need to approve the new schedule before 2021.
There's not a lot of flexibility in this. This is the law, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised full year 2021 salary schedule as shown in attachment A, effective January 1st, 2021.
And I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll move now to board and staff reports. Start with items from the board of directors. Director Carhart, do you have any comments to make?
Believe it or not, I can't think of any at the moment, so on to the next director.
Okay, Director Mounts?
The only comment I'll make is I've been out and I went and did a little bit of a walkthrough over at Gum Ranch, and I'm super excited to see that project up and going, and really excited to see what we can do with that space. And just going through some of the parks, it seems like our parks are packed right now, which is awesome to see. Obviously being outdoors and going and recreating and visiting these parks is basically a lot of the only recreation a lot of people are getting. So I'm very pleased to see that we've done an excellent job in keeping the parks safe and keeping them open and seeing the community really enjoy them.
I agree, Darren. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Director Irwin?
Only thing I had was, and I think we all received an email from Mike regarding the California Association of Recreation Parks or Park Districts. They had a board vacancy and were looking to fill that with a board member from one of the districts. And so I was planning to apply if you all were okay with that and representing us on that board.
Go for it.
Can I actually have a little clarity there, Director Irwin? You actually are not necessarily representing the board. You are a board member who serves on the Capri board. And so you're really serving all of the districts, parks and recreation districts from around the state.
Wonderful. Well, the idea is to not make any of you look like fools or the district look like a fool. So if you have confidence in me that I won't do that, I plan on applying.
I think it's a great idea. It'd be a great learning experience for you and also a great way to collaborate with, your peers, at least in the region and around the state. I certainly support you.
Awesome. Thank you.
And you're the best of all the candidates that I know.
Absolutely. I think you're going to make a great fit. So thank you for volunteering to do this. Did you have anything else, Director Irwin?
Nope, just that I'm looking forward to doing a cycle day with a couple fellow directors.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. True.
Absolutely.
Email about a day.
If also wants to join us,
yes,
can do so.
Well, let's see if the
Not at the bike park.
Oh, darn.
Director O'Farrell.
Just to thank you, serve another year as the chair, but also to thank Mike and staff. This has been, and Delinda, you, everybody, Delinda, you as well, but it's been a rough year for everybody, and the district has done very well in my eyes. And sadly, some of our workers came down with COVID, but hopefully everything's going to be fine. But a good thought, a prayer, happy holidays to everybody. Enjoy your families, stay safe, and be smart.
Ditto.
Well said, John. I agree.
That's pretty much what I had to say too. It's just a giant thank you to my fellow directors and then staff as well, because this has been a really challenging year, and everyone has pivoted and really rose to the occasion and shown how resilient they are. And so thank you. So we'll move now to items from staff. So Jennifer, do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Katie?
Yes, I have just a few quick items. Thank you. I first want to say thank you to the board and staff that participated in our holiday jingle and mingle gathering last night. It was fun and everybody had such a great attitude and some of us ended up staying and chit-chatting until almost 9 o'clock at night, just talking about life. So it was really great. You can see that we all missed that connection there. So it was fun and my team won. So all right. I also want to take a moment just to quickly congratulate Recreation Supervisor Nick Davison, who recently passed his Certified Park and Recreation Professional test through NRPA. So he is officially CPRP certified. It is a very grueling test. And so I just want to make sure that he gets that recognition on a well done on that, striving to advance his career. Next, I just let you know the registration software implementation is in full swing the last 2 weeks with business assessments, and we will likely go into official training first thing in the new year. Simultaneously, we are doing data collection for the cost recovery right now and pulling all of the information out from the calendar year 2019 so that we have a jumping point to go when we start actually plugging data into the new cost recovery. We will start the cohort process with 110%, likely the first week in February seems to be. So we'll be doing that data collection to keep that project moving forward. I know we're hoping to get that done in the springtime and be off and running before the next fiscal year. So very excited about that. And then I just wanted to let you know, we are going to be running the backup plan for the holiday stroll. Kudos to Sabrina Bernardo, Recreation Supervisor, for coming up with a really excellent backup plan for the holiday stroll event. So tomorrow night, Chelsea and myself and Matt Trevino will be driving around in a decorated vehicle to houses, one of them being Delinda's, and dropping off goodies for the kiddos that they would have received at that event. And then on Friday, it will be Serena, Nick, and Matt, another Matt who's a part-timer. So anyways, we're all excited. Any chance to do any version of a special event. It's less people, but we're social distancing and we're wearing masks while in the vehicle. So we're just excited. So very, very excited. And then lastly, Chelsea Adams did our letters from a assisted Santa in delivering letters that Santa wrote for children in Fair Oaks. And she did 65 plus letters with Santa and he's exhausted. So I'm not sure how he's going to deliver presents, but I'm sure he'll get it done. So kudos to Chelsea Adams for getting that done. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Katie, we had a letter show up today. So
Oh.
it's exciting. Yes. So I get next, Sean, do you have anything to share tonight?
Yes, good evening, Board of Directors. This is Sean Ventura, Parks and Facilities Manager. I've got 2 items, and as usual, I will attempt to be as quick. We are still progressing with our holiday tree. We have had some trouble with it this year, but the staff has rolled their sleeves up and persevered. And I'm happy to report that tonight, if you were to drive past, you would see that the tree, knock on wood, should be on with the first round of lighting on it and ornaments as well. It does still need a little bit more lights and a little bit more fluffing of some of the branches, but it is operational and the holidays can commence in the village. My second item is not as happy of news. I spoke to you last month about a retaining wall at the maintenance shop by our dumpster that was failing. It is continuing to do so. I received a quote from an organization that we found through Sourcewell, which is a National Joint Purchasing Agreement company. They gave me an estimate on their recommended route, which is a poured concrete wall, pretty much. That is coming in at $135,000. As the number, I see all of you kind of your heads knocking back a little bit, did the same thing to me. So we are looking at other options and continuing to try and and come up with something that's creative and service the purposes of the district without breaking the bank. So I just wanted to keep you in the loop on that and let you know that there will be.
John, have you reached out to other local companies in terms of trying to get, a more competitive bid?
I have not yet, only because this bid was just to get an estimate to kind of give you on the board a ballpark. The next steps, we're hoping to maybe rethink how we use our dumpster and where we place our dumpster so that we may not have to rebuild the wall. If we do decide that the wall has to remain and we're not changing that up, then we will be, of course, going out for more competitive bids.
If I recall, Sean, this is a wood retaining wall that allows you to access the top of a dumpster bin with your trucks and other things.
Yeah.
Correct. And unless there are any other questions, that is all I have for you tonight.
Yeah, I think between John and I, we might be able to recommend some local Fair Oaks companies that might, be able to at least get into the bid process and take a look at it.
That would always be appreciated.
That old wood retaining wall only cost us 90 grand. Just kidding.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I believed you for.
Hey, Ralph, that actually would from the ark.
Wood from the ark.
I donated it. Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
Yes, thank you. And again, thank you, board, for a wonderful year. I want to just give a quick shout out to you all and to the staff to the wonderful job they've done. I shared the accomplishments at the Christmas party. I'm not going to go over all of those here in this meeting, but it's a substantial list of accomplishments that the staff and board have done throughout the year. And I really do appreciate that. On to another item here. I do have a change order here. The board has given me a directive to come back to them with any change orders that are over $10,000. Historically, if there is such a thing on these change orders, I've agendized them. It's not necessary to agendize them, but it is nice to do. This one came in just last week, and to get this one done, I'm just bringing it up to you. And if you have a serious reservation, we won't sign it, but it is for the village or the amphitheater and the clubhouse. And it's what's called low voltage, and it's with KMM, who is doing our low voltage work right now. And this is the data lines that'll connect from the clubhouse to the amphitheater. So there's a communication process. It also will allow us to do the security camera, the intrusion cameras, and the fire alarm work there in the new building. And so that change order for all of the work and the design and on that is $13,180. And I'm just bringing this up to you for concurrence on a signature for that. Your directive has been the 10,000 or more to bring forward to you. So it's just information, and unless you had a serious hesitation, I'm going to go ahead and sign this.
I say go for it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then last on the list here is the office closure, just so you know what's happening here at the district. We will be closing the office December 24th and reopening it January 4th. The only official days that the doors would be closed, and they currently are closed anyway, just so you know, there'll still be some staff here. So inevitably we're going to open the door if somebody wants to buy a park pass for the American River Parkway, but we'll be closed December 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's almost a moot point because we're closed anyway, but just so you know that that's happening.
That's good. I wasn't aware that you could buy a county park pass at the district office.
Yeah, if somebody's here, we're happy to sell them to you.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. So now we will adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Can I have a motion to adjourn to our regular meeting of January 20th, 2021?
Make this motion that we adjourn to a much better year of 2021, the January, 20th meeting? Yes. 6 p.m.
Here. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Happy holidays,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Merry
Yes.
Christmas.
Yep, Merry
Be
Christmas.
safe and warm and get lots of presents.
Yep.
The fix.
Adios.
Have a good
Talk to you
night.
soon. Thanks.